area we get into is part of the pre-finishing application. We need to get an oil-based filler on the wood to fill the pores. To get finish on the raw wood with all the pores in the wood, it would end up looking like an orange peel. So we need to smooth things out. The problem with the oil-based filler is that it has stain in it. It's also going to fill and stain some of the binding application that's already been done so carefully. So what we're doing in here, and we can come in, we'll take a look. This particular binding is ivoroid, so it's never going to come back to a pure white color, but you can see the difference between the filled binding and the areas where she's cleaning it off. This is all done by hand, very carefully with a hacksaw blade and a sharpening stone. And she'll go through the entire guitar, front, back, sides. The rosette has to be cleaned, the end piece, the entire neck if it's bound, also the position markers. There's a lot of detail going into just cleaning the guitar, getting it ready for the next application. So again, if the camera had a nose, it would pick up a slightly different scent. We moved into a different area. We're now in the early finishing stages. Brian and Dennis are back there doing some processing on some guitars. This is typically where a guitar is going to get a specialty paint or toner or sunburst. So they'll be taping some of those off and getting them ready for that application. Bill's up here doing some inspection and minor touch-ups before the rest of the finishing application occurs. As part of that process, pieces expand and contract at different rates. As you're going through this process, sometimes a piece of binding attached to a piece of wood may leave a small opening. So we have very skilled people who will come in and address some of those fine details. Again, we're doing this before or within the finishing stages. So the end result will be a perfectly smooth finish at the end. At this stage in the finishing process, we're doing some sanding. We're also applying toner and other elements. There are many guitars that come out with a natural look of the spruce. There are also guitars that come out with aging or vintage toner on them. And sometimes that will cause the guitar to look a little bit older than it actually is. So here's an example of a mild toner, just giving that spruce a little bit of yellowing, maybe a 15-year-old look. And then if we look down here, we have a slightly stronger look in the toner, and that might be what the guitar would look like after 25 or 30 years. So you're naturally, with the nitrocellulose finish, you're naturally going to have these progressions in the finish and color changes over time. This next area, in between the finishing stages, so there's a lot of sanding that happens, there's a lot of coats of finish that are going on. They need to be dried properly. So much like the glue that we talked about earlier, we need to put them in an environment that is conducive to drying. So the glue wants to be warmer, the finish would like to be warmer as well. We put the guitars in here where the air exchange happens about every minute and a half. It's probably about 100 degrees in there, and even though it's pretty dry outside, we dry it in here a little bit too. So in the summer, when we're experiencing 100% humidity, we'll drop the humidity in here to maybe 25 or 30%. That'll help that material dry more evenly, then it'll come back out here into the more stable environment.